Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Wrestleline, and I'm your host, John Scott, joined as always by my co-host, Matt Essex. And this week, lots coming up to discuss from the world of professional wrestling. Yes, we have a new wrestling promotion has joined the world of wrestling as it is now. It's no longer just WWE, it seems. We're going to be talking about AEW's Double or Nothing. You'll hear our thoughts and feelings about that and where we see that going forward. Plus, all the fallout from WWE this week. Did it improve? Didn't it improve? What do we actually think about the Money in the Bank and Brock Lesnar's new beatbox? That's the new hashtag at the moment on that one. And of course, with the whole, of course, the wild card business as well, and if that's really working and having an effect on the ratings, we'll be talking about that. Plus, the Saudi Arabia trip is only 1 week away from today, so we're going to have more on that about Bill Goldberg and The Undertaker. And also lots of news from our side of things in Britain in terms of a lot of wrestling going on and has been going on as well. So we're going to get into all those things. Lots of news to discuss. Matt, let's bring you in now. And how have you been, Matt? Because it's been a little while since we've been on. But how's things with your end and your experience of the last couple of weeks in wrestling? Because we have an added edition.
Well, a lot's going on, and I feel like this creation of the new company that's come around now, it couldn't have happened at a better time, or if you're WWE, a worse time. So that's interesting. It's an exciting time to be a fan for sure. But then we like to criticise as wrestling fans sometimes. But in saying that, we have got our WWE live tickets now. Despite the downslope that WWE's been on, it's still a fun day out.
Yes, I forgot about that actually. Yes, myself and Matt, we are heading down to we're back at Wembley, aren't we, Matt? Wembley Arena. Is that that's October, I believe. Which sounds good. And like Matt said, I think we're more about the live show now. I think if it's live, we're going to tend to go to those ones. But I'm leaving Raw and SmackDown alone at the moment. Especially after one of my mutual friends went just recently and he didn't have a great time. So, we're going to stick with the live shows. But lots and lots of stuff going on this week, Matt. And, we've got to start, of course, with the new promotion in all of this, of course, AEW. What did you make of the pay-per-view, Matt? You've seen it now. Obviously, we'll go through it a little bit more in depth, but as an overall feeling, Matt, just briefly, what did you make of the experience and what they brought to the table?
It's hard not to draw comparisons to other companies that are around or that have existed. For me, it was difficult not to compare it to WCW. I feel like maybe that's because it has this air of legitimacy about it and about the competition that it brings. And also the fact that they didn't focus purely on American talent, did they? Mm-hmm. They actually brought in worldwide talent. I mean, there was some Chinese people in there, there's Japanese, and just all across the planet, they brought in quite an impressive collection of wrestlers. So whether that says they're not confident in the roster they have, or whether they're just trying to showcase different talent from around the world, that remains to be seen. But I was quite impressed by it. I mean, I'm not going to say that I wasn't. I mean, I thought the second half of the show was miles better than the first. Not knocking the people that were on earlier in the night. It's just they definitely got the pacing right, didn't they? They built a big finish.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to address some of the negatives first because there was more positives and all this. But being the critics that we are, and of course you try and be fair. One thing I did really pick up on that I wasn't a massive fan is the chemistry and the commentating. I felt it was a little bit eerie in places. However, I think that'll only get better in time because of the way things are going. But, I mean, I think with, you alluded to there, Matt, about the earlier part of the card, that night on Double or Nothing. I think the difficulty AEW had is that a lot of the talent, Matt, they're not known worldwide, and I'm guessing that they kind of pretty much tried to do the best they could by using the talent that maybe the mainstream would know, And I think until they sort of get that weekly television up and running, I've got a feeling that may be the case at the next pay-per-view as well, until they can sort of introduce bit by bit and kind of develop these characters to the mainstream audience, because it's just a little bit tough at the moment. But I've got to be honest, like you said, Matt, the second half, the positive of the whole thing, I first and foremost, I thought the production value was excellent. Yeah, there were a few little missteps here and there. A couple of the camera angles were slightly off, but you've got to expect that. It's the first pay-per-view they've put on. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I think the production value was excellent. It didn't come across like a sort of TNA pay-per-view where, I used to think it was all a bit of a rush sometimes, and it was a little bit of a downplay of WWE in a lot of ways. I think AEW, they certainly wanted to get across an identity early, and I think they did a pretty decent job. What I liked about it, Matt, is the fact that, like you said earlier, they built to the main event. It was very sort of Japanese style there, and it's something that I'm, as a wrestling fan, of the old sort of wrestling, I'm much more for that build to the main event, and I think that's pretty much what it got across. Little things that came out of it, Matt. I mean, we saw Awesome Kong was there. We had a show up, but what did you make of the Cody Rhodes statement that seemed to get a lot of press afterwards? He certainly wanted to get that mainstream, didn't he? I got to be honest with you, I found it a little bit, does he need to do this? I know he's got a point to prove, but, just the whole way it played, I was like, man, I don't know. Like, WWE, they've been mentioning AEW a lot, and I'd let them do it, but, I don't know, did they need that there, Matt? Was it worth having there, as Booker T would say? Was it a statement, or was it just a little bit hokey for you?
No, I'd say it had its place. I felt like it did its job, didn't it? It got people talking at least, and if people are talking about AEW and Cody Rhodes and what he does, that's just better for them. Mm-hmm. And I guess it is a little bit of a statement as well, isn't it? It is them kind of saying that they mean business. They want to sort of compete, and people got that message, I think. So, and other wrestlers in WWE who might want out, they might look at it and think, well, that's an option for me now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So we had that, and that match, Matt, between the two brothers, I thought was excellent. I mean, it exceeded any expectations I had going into it, that match for sure. But it was a great story they told, and the fans were so into that match, Matt. I mean, that is the way you do the sort of emotional feud between each other. I mean, that's the sort of thing I've missed so much. Very, very bloody, that's for sure. But sticking with this match just quickly here, Matt, this is certainly going to be an advantage that AEW will have over WWE. And we spoke about this a lot on the podcast years gone by, about what some of the things that are missing from the WWE product. And one of those blatant things, Matt, the elephant in the room, has to be the use of colour, the use of blood now and then, And, whether you like it or you don't, it certainly has its place. It certainly has an effect. And I think the problem I've had with WWE over the years is they get to these Extreme Rules or TLCs or Hell in a Cell, but yet for some reason we don't see blood, and it's just a bit odd that people are knocking the hell out of each other, but we don't see it unless it's a complete accident, of course. We don't see it anymore, and it does add to it. I mean, you only have to go back and look at Brett and Austin and what effect that had to the whole thing. I'm not talking about guys bleeding on each other and, having to use, razors and all the rest of it. But, the blood that was used back in the day, Matt, wasn't always that. They used to just use what they'd use in the movies, and that would do the trick. But you haven't got any of that in WWE. This certainly, Matt, from my point of view, has to be an advantage for AEW going forward as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And if people even in WWE, they say sports entertainment, but it's all centered around combat, isn't it? So essentially a combat kind of sport. Mm-hmm. And with other sports like the UFC and all that, blood is very common. So to take that out of it kind of takes a little bit of the believability out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah. What did you make of that match yourself, Matt, between Cody and Dustin?
Yeah, I mean, he continues to impress me, Goldust, or as he's now retired Goldust, isn't he? So let's call him Dustin, shall we? So yeah, he does continue to impress me, and at that age, that's incredible because he's timeless, really.
Yeah.
And the fact that he can still perform at such a level, it's just more shame on WWE that they don't allow him to perform on that level, because he clearly had it in him all these years. But they just clearly saw him as a mid-carder, and that's all they wanted to promote him as. But what a shame to think they had both Cody and Dustin under contract at one point, and what did they do with them? Just Goldust and Stardust, when they could have been clearly doing so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things, because Goldust, I'm sure at the age he's at, and especially watching the documentary that led up to it, he was certainly talking as if, he's had his time, he knows his legacy's intact, and, he really didn't have anything to prove on this pay-per-view, Matt. It wasn't like he was going out there to sort of, make sure his legacy lives forever. But, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, the fact that he can still go at this level is incredible, as you said. So, yeah, I was really impressed with that. And I think from there on in, this was just, I was just sitting back, and I was thoroughly sort of going back to my old self. I mean, I felt like a little kid a little bit, because, again, I didn't know everybody on this card, I'll be honest. But it was nice because it kind of felt like starting over again, and something fresh was happening. And, I was really sort of from that point on really getting into it. Not to take anything away from anything else that happened before that, because I think there were some good matches, but again, it's sometimes difficult to get into these things. One of the matches I did enjoy, Matt, was the first match they had, the 3-on-3. I thought that was well booked. Have the 3-on-3, and as you said earlier, Matt, I mean those three guys, from China and all the rest of it, they were excellent. I mean, they all got some great stuff in there, and I tell you, the guy that stood out to me in all that, Matt, is Scorpio Sky. I mean, I thought, wow, the skies that could be literally the limit, no pun intended there, but for this guy in AEW, I could see him breaking away and becoming a bit of a star, but maybe that's just me from a distance there. But certainly Jim Ross was calling his praises there in all that. And yeah, as we go forward, Matt, we after that, of course, the Young Bucks, Matt, up against the Lucha Brothers. By the way, I had a lot of emails, so I'm just going to clear this up now. A lot of emails saying, are they really Lucha Brothers? Yes, they are, believe it or not. What a talented pair of brothers as well, Matt. I mean, unbelievable, isn't it? The amount of siblings in this, but yeah, they are super, super talented guys. Pentagon there as well. So, and Ray Phoenix, I mean, just an awesome team. And what I liked about the going into this, Matt, is I don't know if you saw the documentary that was leading up to this pay-per-view, Matt. I don't know if you got to see all of that or not.
Yeah. I actually, made the effort.
Yeah. But one of the cool things about it in the story was the fact that since the Young Bucks took on the contract at Ring of Honor, they basically said that there was a void missing. And then all of a sudden the Lucha Brothers just took all the bookings that basically the Young Bucks used to do, because they just used to work like every single night in front of 200 people to 7,000 people. I mean, they just literally took all the bookings. And when the Young Bucks left the scene, literally the Lucha Brothers have come along and they filled that void. And I thought it was good. I thought it was a great story. I think as well, Matt, I know that the Young Bucks and Cody, they said they want to make tag team wrestling, back to the forefront. And I thought this was a great advert for that. I mean, great first match. And to me, it did show that they are really putting a lot of importance back into tag team wrestling again. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. I mean, I thought it was a great match. And, of course, the Young Bucks coming out on top. What did you make of this one, Matt? And also the tag team division I mean, certainly a good idea for them to start with a tag team and put the emphasis on it, because it's something that really WWE doesn't have much of at all. Even though they have all the teams, they don't really showcase it very well. So I thought this is an excellent move for AEW to start with this one.
Oh, definitely. easily the best tag team match I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, at points,